Hello everybody. Thought I'd give you a collection tour starting in my office. These are going to be real quick and dirty, just using my iPhone, nothing fancy. Give you a quick once over of the room and then I'll delve into detail on what some of these things are. You'll probably notice my collection is heavily vintage Star Wars and Indiana Jones. I'll start here with this giant 40 by 60 Raiders of the Lost Ark poster. 40 by 60s are much rarer than your one-sheet posters. The print quality is stellar. They were printed on cardstock, so they hold up a lot better, frame a lot better. A lot were also used outdoors in the advertising of movies, so with how few there are, not a lot have survived. Over here is the Temple of Doom 40 by 60. And by 1984, they were actually starting to phase out a lot of the movie poster sizes. The coming of the multiplex, there just wasn't room, so one sheet became king. Up top here is Raiders of the Lost Ark 11 by 14 lobby card set. As well as a bunch of posters that I still have to get to framing. These are the 8 by 10 Star Wars lobby cards. That 77/21-0 indicates that these are the first printings of these, which makes them more desirable and rare than other printings. These are the 11 by 14 Star Wars lobby cards. Moving up top here, we've got the Yoda puppet from 1980. Star Wars on record and CD. Raiders of the Lost Ark game, graded by AFA 85. As well as the Raiders of the Lost Ark Atari game. And another Raiders board game. Raiders on record. And a fertility idol. That's actually a bank. Here on my bookshelf, got everything categorized by subject. On the top is Spielberg, biographies, and going film by film, making ofs, novelizations. And the second row is George Lucas and Star Wars. Again, biographies. And then into Star Wars. Some of the indie books start on this shelf. Magazines, comics, Temple of Doom lunchbox. Had my finger over the lens. Sorry. Some other movies. Batman, DC superheroes. Star Trek. Screenwriting. And the bottom's all my filmmaking, film studies books. Now coming up into my desk, got John Williams scores. Best ones there in the front row, and behind that is all the rest. Some of my favorite books, Making Star Wars, Indiana Jones, vintage stuff. In this cabinet we've got the Star Wars glasses, those movies releases, and Burger King, Star Wars Empire behind that, Return of the Jedi behind that, a Raiders script, Star Wars exhibitors booklet, back before the logo had been finalized at the pointy W there, some patches, fan club, Star Wars hat, similar to the one Spielberg wore on the set of Raiders, but this is not the crew hat, it's the Factors commercial one, but still has the tag, 1977. And here I've got the credit sheet for Raiders, the Temple of Doom and Last Crusade press kit, some more patches, and Indy 4 crew items, the hat, as well as the visual effects crew pin. And up top here is probably one of, if not the holy grail of my collection, the prototype Raiders glasses from Coca-Cola for Burger King, I believe, that just never happened for whatever reason. So there's only a few sets of these in existence. Behind them are the Temple of Doom glasses. Alright, in here is my Kenner Raiders of the Lost Ark collection. I'll open this up so we can take a closer look. They're all graded at least 80. Many are unpunched. Back there is a exhibitor folder. It's got Steranko artwork inside. The Raiders press kit, as well as Raiders crew hat. The Raiders screen tickets, front and back. Raiders envelope. And a promo pin. So moving over here to this bookshelf, got the Raiders novelization, hardcover, as well as paperbacks. The first printing paperback and for whatever reason, many different colored covers for the other printings. Making of a couple of different printings of Temple of Doom and Last Crusade. And more indie novels. These Star Wars Chronicles, really cool. This is the first printing and second. Some vintage Star Wars activity and storybooks. Willow. Hard to pull these out with one hand. More novels, comic book adaptations, making ofs. Here's a bunch of Star Wars and indie laser discs and records. Story of laser discs. It's actually probably the best quality of the original cuts there are right now. Got the Raiders on record and Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom soundtrack. VHSs, DVDs, books on tape, Topps trading cards. The Indiana Boulder was actually from a birthday cake. So it's from Comic-Con promoting Indy 4's release. Disney mug, Gentle Giants crate, DreamWorks mug. Guess there's a little bit more in here. This is postcard lithographs from the Blu-ray release. This I'll show you later. My Adventure Built Indy 4 hat certificate. And a bunch of clippings from mainly Temple of Doom. And on and on. That out of the way and show you a couple more things in here. So we got the Raiders press kit book, I should say. It's kind of cool. Shows the different posters you could order. Different ad sizes for newspapers. Star Wars souvenir booklet. This is the soundtrack insert poster. I'm gonna get that framed someday. Be able to show it to you better. And this is the Temple of Doom, and underneath it is Last Crusade lobby card set. Continuing the collection tour, this is my living room, which has the majority of my original Star Wars posters for maximum viewing pleasure. Give you a quick once over here of them and then dive into detail in more or less release order. Starting with this aptly titled Poster 1, or the Chaikin. This was the very first Star Wars poster in 1976, used to drum up interest in this sci-fi movie no one had ever heard of. Cost just over $1 when it was first released, now worth quite a bit more. Now, as I talk about these posters, no film series has had its posters bootlegged and reproduced more than the Star Wars films. So I'll give you some of the telltale signs to tell if the poster you're looking at is an original or a reproduction. And for this poster 1, the telltale sign is this copyright symbol, the C in the circle. If that's not there, it's not an original. Now this is the Mylar Advance, also 1976. This poster was created with a highly reflective Mylar material that is very hard to find these days in really good condition, as the Mylar would bend and come apart. This one is a very, very nice example. One thing of note in particular on this poster is the Star Wars logo has this pointy W. They hadn't yet finalized on the final look of it yet. Which brings us to the second advance, which is more of a cardstock, silver printing, almost the same, just a little bit smaller words. And the Star Wars logo is now the one we know and love. This poster could actually be rarer than the Mylar Advance, but collectors still seem to favor the Mylar since it predated this and has that pointy W. The next poster was the Teaser B. Got that tagline out there. Now this also has a bootleg that is very convincing. Same size, almost the same in every respect, except for this little tiny union bug here, this GAU. If that's not present, it's not the real deal. So this is the Star Wars insert, 14 by 36. A really neat poster size in my opinion. Now this one is often confused with a video release insert. One way to tell the difference is in that video release, right here is a Lucasfilm copyright statement. That's not present on the original insert. Also, the NSS information should be down here as so. NSS being National Screen Service. And a lot of inserts had cropped art on the bootlegs. And the cropped art for this one way to tell is this X-Wing and the Death Star there. They don't look like that. If they're cropped in more than that, it's a bootleg you're looking at. So this is the Star Wars half sheet, 22 by 28. This is the last half sheet, to my knowledge, that has different art than the one sheet and insert did. Same artist, though. A really cool use of the horizontal format. Which brings us to the Star Wars one sheet, 27 by 41. Probably the most famous poster ever made, except for maybe Jaws. And again, bootlegged like crazy. Particularly this one. This is the first printing, which you can tell by this NSS number here with the -0 at the end. So the telltale signs on this are the copyright logo here. 20th Century Fox is not indented in as far. And there's a hair on Luke's belt, which is not present in the authentic original. So for a lot of bootlegs, the bootleggers actually use the original printing presses to make the bootleg off of. And so the print quality is just as good, if not better sometimes, but little things sneak through like cropped art or hairs on the plate that we can use to tell the difference now. So this is the Star Wars Style C. I should say that, if I didn't already, this is the Style A, one sheet, insert, and half sheet. There's no B. You could consider teaser B the B, but otherwise there's no B for some reason. It skips right to C. And C was actually an international release, mainly. Very cool artwork. One of my favorites. This also has a very famous bootleg that is really hard to tell apart from the size. Also 27 by 41. But the features that you can use to tell this one apart is there's a hair right there on R2-D2's middle foot on the bootleg, as well as on Leia's back. And these blaster fire pink puff clouds are not as large on the bootleg. Particularly the trail has almost none on the bootleg. So moving on to the Style D one sheet, also known as the circus poster. It's got some interesting history to it as to why it looks the way it does. It was actually a reissue of Star Wars within the same year. It just played continuously for the whole year. Before moving into the other room, there's some art prints over here by an artist named Dave Perillo. Kind of cartoony, but does a good job encapsulating the entire trilogy. These are art proofs. All right, so heading into this other room, we've got some Indiana Jones, some more Star Wars. In this corner is Temple of Doom, the insert, and the one sheet. And then the Drew Struzan Temple of Doom one sheet. The actual poster is not white, it's more of a off-white cream color with green text. With some indie posters, you also have to watch out for, in the bottom corner, if there's an IJ Media in the release date of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, those were reprints made for the media when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out. There is, however, that distinction, and you can really tell the print quality is nowhere near as good. Here's the Last Crusade one sheets. After the Temple of Doom poster, Drew Struzan became the go-to guy for indie, for obvious reasons. Excellent, excellent artwork. Now over here, I've got the similar Dave Perillo trilogy for Indiana Jones. Again, art proofs. They do a good job encapsulating the entire trilogy. Now on this wall is my 30 by 40s. Now 30 by 40s, just like 40 by 60s, are cardboard stock, and I think a really superior quality to one sheet printings. Very, very crisp and awesome quality. So these are an inch shorter vertically and 3 inches more horizontally. So the NSS information is actually on the side, as well as the movie title. Now what the 77/21 means is the NSS number for that particular movie. It's the release year, 1977, and it was the 21st movie released that year. Here's the style D. Again, amazing print quality on these. And Raiders. The original release and the reissue. Both Richard Amsel artwork. I think they go together better than any two posters in history, in my opinion. Really, really cool. So over here is the UK Raiders one sheet. Now a lot of people think that with the tagline, The Return of the Great Adventure, which is the same as the reissue of Raiders in the States, that this is a reissue poster. However, you can tell with the Roman numerals down here, that is 1981. So this was the original release of Raiders in the UK, where the majority of the movie was shot. Also notable as one of the few posters where Indy doesn't have his fedora on. Here's my office that I have already walked you guys through. And this is the Temple of the Forbidden Eye Disneyland ride poster, which was available in the parks in 1995 when the ride first opened at Disneyland. Limited qualities, Drew Struzan art. A couple more here in the hallway, and that'll finish off this particular section of the tour. Here's the Raiders reissue one sheet. So the difference between one sheet and 30 by 40 is this was paper. And it's 27 by 41. And finally over here is the Raiders inserts. The original release and the reissue. This original release insert is also very often bootlegged. Again, cropped art is your key to knowing if you're getting an original or not. On the bootleg, that horse, the Arabian horse, is completely cut off on the side, and the whip doesn't extend as far. So when you're looking at the bootleg, it's very obvious when you know that it's not the real deal. Okay, in this room we have the Star Wars Special Edition trilogy, released for Star Wars' 20th anniversary in 1997, with updated special effects and added scenes. Much to many's chagrin, has never been rolled back. Every version since has had even more changes on DVD and Blu-ray, with the original cuts no longer available for the moment. Drew Struzan delivering, as always, on the posters. This presented a unique opportunity to do a triptych where the three combine into one large image representing the entire trilogy. Another thing of note in this Return of the Jedi poster is that March 7th was the original release date planned for Jedi, but they pushed it a week to give Empire a little bit longer run before Jedi came out. I believe the March 14th dated Return of the Jedi special editions are a little rare, but none of these are exactly super rare. But one of my favorites as far as lining up, can't beat the art, great overall saga images. Okay, and then moving over here, we've got the Star Wars Factors commercial poster for Star Wars with art by the Hildebrandt brothers. I guess the theme of this room is rush jobs, because both the Struzan special edition and this were crazy turnaround times required by the artists. So considering how quickly they had to churn them out, they're all the more impressive. And this is, of course, the art on the Kenner Star Wars action figures. Continuing on with the collection tour video, this section is the cosplay wearable apparel section. There's some movie studio, Indiana Jones, Star Wars hats. This section is my indie cosplay stuff. There's some Wested pants and shirts. West had actually made the original coat for Raiders. This is a Tony Nowak Raiders jacket. He did the jackets for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and had access to the Raiders pattern when he did that. And so he made Raiders coats available for, I believe there was 888 of these. Not sure if he even got to making that many before he'd unfortunately passed away. And this is his Last Crusade jacket. I think only 333 of those, according to the inside. And finally, his screen accurate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull jacket. And here is a satchel and Indy belt. And go along with those, down here I've got my Alden 405s and 403s. These were actually the actual Indy boot, and these are a darker one that I like just as much. Obviously, I've worn them a lot. So heading up here, got Crystal Skull ILM crew jacket. Looks like a moving jacket. Pretty cool. Dickies. This was the ILM Visual Effects crew shirt. The front has a little skull on it. And another Kingdom of the Crystal Skull shirt. This was a Raiders congratulatory crew shirt. See if I can make that more readable there. This was the ILM Raiders shirt. Another Raiders crew shirt. And another Raiders crew shirt. This one actually didn't see wide circulation amongst the crew because Spielberg didn't like the swastikas on the image. Can't say I blame him. And a couple of Disneyland Raiders shirts. The Picard coat and undershirt. Freddy Krueger. And Dexter. So to round out my wearables in this room is my Adventure Built fedoras by Steve Delk, who did the hats for Indy 4, which this is one of his Indy 4 hats in his so-called Ford felt, which is the same felt from the movie. And this one is a Raiders hat. With the turn and all that fun stuff. And this is one of my favorite posters, Drew Struzan, what was the special features art from the DVD. Continuing on with the collection tour, this is the last room of movie posters I have to show you guys. We'll start over here with the Raiders of the Lost Ark IMAX reissue poster. This came out around the same time that all 4 movies debuted on Blu-ray for the first time. For this occasion, Raiders was remastered frame by frame, and this was a good opportunity to show it on the biggest screen possible. It was a super limited engagement, only on select IMAX screens. A mini version of this poster was given out at the screenings, but this 27 by 40 double-sided poster from the theaters themselves is pretty rare. The art is by Mark Ratz, who's a great artist who will hopefully get the job of making the Indy 5 posters should that movie come to pass. And this one is the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull Advance from Comic-Con in 2007, a year before the movie came out, so it didn't even have its official name just yet. You can see the Comic-Con certificate there. And here's my Star Wars pillowcase. So up here we've got Raiders and Temple of Doom half sheets, 22 by 28. And in the middle is my ketubah, which is a Jewish marriage contract, which even with the Star Wars sheets and movie posters all over my house, she still puts up with me. It's pretty amazing. Here's the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull banner, which is really huge. You can see in comparison to a one sheet how big that sucker is. And here's the Temple of Doom teaser. Now there's no less than 3 of these posters before they got it right. This is actually the 3rd version. The first had a white backdrop with yellow print that was nearly impossible to read, with a really awkward tagline of, "If adventure has a name, trust him, Indiana Jones." Then the second version, they started this black embossed background, but it had a white border around it. And then this is the full bleed version with just the "Trust Me" tagline. And here you can see that embossed background. And finally, over here is the Star Wars 3 sheet, which is pretty gigantic. And I'm saving this spot over here for the Raiders 3 sheet, which I have. I just need to get it framed. So the poster collector's collecting is never done. It's kind of a rotating art collection around here. So what I'll probably do is continue to make a new collection tour every year to show you guys how things have changed and grown moving forward. So here already is what I mean by the rotating art collection. Even since giving the collection tour of this room, I've since used this big wall's real estate to put up the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull bus shelter. My least favorite of the Indiana Jones films, but boy, if Drew didn't deliver on the posters, as always. I also noticed that this art is less cropped in than the one sheet, so it includes even more of the art on the sides. Continuing on with the collection tour, in this section I wanted to give you guys a little closer look at some of the items that I'd just kind of glossed over in the initial tour of my office. This first item is the Raiders of the Lost Ark exhibitors folder, which, as you can tell by the copyright date down here of 1980, was sent to exhibitors a year before Raiders was released. Also interesting of note, here on the bottom of the credits it says tentative billing, so that hadn't even been fully decided upon at this point. Open it up and there's some Jim Steranko pre-production artwork on the inside. This has been die cut. And inside the folder is a manila envelope with the Raiders logo on it. Inside the folder is some more Steranko pre-production artwork, as well as a story synopsis of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Similar to the kinds of things found in the Raiders of the Lost Ark press kit, which we'll take a look at next. Here we have the Raiders of the Lost Ark press kit, which is a brown folder, the Paramount logo on the back and Raiders on the front. This is absolutely chock full of awesome stuff. This is a letter from the fan club director. Enclosed you will find a press kit on the newest Lucasfilm Limited production and Steven Spielberg spelled wrong, film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, starring Harrison Ford of the Star Wars saga. The press kit is sent to you because you publish a Star Wars related fanzine. We hope you are able to utilize the information it contains in your next issue. Here's a thick booklet with info on the cast of characters, the technical credits, and then very detailed production information before going into the cast, what they've done before, the director, the producer, the screenplay, score, executive producers, associate producer, production designer, art director, director of photography, editor, and finally, photographic effects supervisor. Here's a little Raiders advert, front and back, more info on the movie. Here's a bunch of stapled together sheets of information, the opening announcement, Spielberg and Lucas, an important collaboration reaches a creative high with Raiders of the Lost Ark movie. Info on Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, John Rhys Davies, and Paul Freeman, and a way to sign up for the Star Wars fan club. Now, in here's got some stuff that I don't think every press kit has. I think I've got kind of a special one. This is the Raiders credit sheet that I put all of this in for safekeeping. Here are some photographs I can't tell if these were taken at a screening or what. And this is a shot of Lucas and Harrison Ford in Tunisia. Some more photographs. Two of this one for some reason. Then we get into the photos that are included with the press kit. You've got a number here, which corresponds to the number here, which has a description of what's in the picture. These were originally kind of glued on to the picture, and in the last 40 years they've come loose. Thankfully they haven't left any residue or stuck on there. Really cool pictures. I'd like to frame all of these someday, but as you saw from my poster collection, I'm quickly running out of room. I already went down to just the original Star Wars on my Star Wars posters and might someday go to just Raiders to have more room for some of this stuff, but for now I just love all the other ones too much to make that leap. Some of these images are the same as the lobby card ones, only in black and white, although the majority of them are unique to these press kits. That's actually a lobby card image on the UK lobby card set. Alright, and on this side is almost another press kit in the Raiders press kit about the making of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was on PBS. Some more photos. Press release. And feature story. And about the filmmakers behind the making of Raiders. So yeah, really cool press kit for Raiders of the Lost Ark. Next we'll take a look at Temple of Doom's press kit. Okay, here's the Temple of Doom press kit now. Again, a folder with the logos on it. Open it up to more awesome stuff. Not all of this was originally in here. I put a few things in here just for safekeeping. Here's a screening ticket for a sneak preview of Temple of Doom in Westwood. As well as a fan club member special screening at Mann's Chinese Theater. And a postcard announcing the novelization movie tie-in book for Temple of Doom. So here's a similar credits sheet for Temple of Doom this time. An awesome indie picture where they got the Temple of Doom teaser image from. The opening announcement story for the press to use. And again, the handbook of production information. Again, going into the cast and characters, technical credits, story synopsis, production notes, about the players, about the filmmakers, And on this side, the pictures. Again, you've got the number corresponding to the number here with the direction of what is in the picture. This is the image that Drew Struzan used for the art on the special features disc of the DVDs. Spielberg. Great image there. Here too. And that's the Temple of Doom press kit. Next we'll take a look at the Last Crusade one. To round out the Indiana Jones press kits, here's the Last Crusade one. The folder's a little bit bigger than the other two. Much more bare bones this time. Again, there's a handbook of production information following a similar format to the others, where it just has write-ups on the production, the cast and the crew, this wasn't even originally in the press kit. I was just keeping it here as a good place to keep it for the time being. And again, it's got a big healthy stack of photos. No paper attachment this time. The description is just right here in the corner. So the whole rollout really for Last Crusade was much lighter than the other movies. There was no action figures to go along with it. They were great lines for Raiders and Temple of Doom. They just didn't sell as well as Star Wars, so they didn't even bother for Last Crusade. And of course at this point too, Indiana Jones was a household name, so they didn't have to try too hard to get interest generated. There was plenty of buzz around this movie as it was. So I showed you guys the Raiders of the Lost Ark exhibitors folder. This is the Star Wars exhibitors booklet. This was sent to exhibitors to get interest in screening this science fiction movie. The Star Wars logo being the pointy W shows how early on this was sent. Really big book with high quality images and lots of good information on the characters and story. So it gave a great overall picture of what was in store. In this section of the collection tour, I'd like to give you guys a closer look at some of my favorite and most vintage Star Wars and Indiana Jones books. Starting out here with the official collector's edition magazines for the individual movies. Nowadays, any big blockbuster gets its own making of books. Not that Star Wars necessarily started this phenomena, but certainly on this scale and regularity. So this is the Star Wars one, and Empire. Lots of great behind the scenes interviews, pre-production, concept artwork can be found in these. And these are the Star Wars storybooks based on the movies. All hardcover. They were also available in paperback. There's a retelling of the story with corresponding photos. So back then, when it wasn't like the video came out a couple months later, that and the soundtrack were some of the only ways to relive these movies. Here's the Star Wars question and answer book about space. Nice book using Star Wars to teach kids about space. Here's the Art of Star Wars. It has a nice section in here about Star Wars posters. And the majority of the book is the screenplay along with the corresponding storyboards, concept art that go along with it. Similarly, here's the Empire Strikes Back notebook, which is again the screenplay with storyboards and art. And to round them out, the Art of Return of the Jedi, its first printing. Posters again in the back there, and the screenplay with the art. These were all reprinted again for the special edition. And here are the sketch books for the trilogy. These go into more detail on the sketches of each particular ship, sandcrawler. Really shows Joe Johnston's contribution. And here were some of the books that I was having a hard time flipping through with one hand earlier. And finally, a little more modern, but wanted to show you guys these as these are probably my absolute favorites. Making of Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, and Star Wars. All by J.W. Rinsler. These are getting harder and harder to track down, especially in hardcover for the first Star Wars in particular. So if I had to go down to just owning 4 books, it'd probably be these 3 and the complete making of Indiana Jones. They're just exhaustive tombs on the making of these movies. And finally, these are some of my absolute favorite Star Wars poster reference books. This being my absolute favorite, the Stephen Sansweet, Peter Vilmer poster book, which is a march through history of Star Wars posters through Revenge of the Sith, before the dark times, before Disney. So really excellent information on the poster, the artist. In the back here is great, find it, bootleg information, as well as taking all the posters and categorizing them by theatrical, events, advertising and promotion, commercial posters. Gives you what the sizes they were available in, what film they were for, and a star system on how rare they are. The next really cool book was from an auction back in 1999 at Butterfield and Butterfield that also goes into nice detail on Star Wars posters and more. And finally, a newer Overstreet price guide to Star Wars collectibles. It's got sections for the action figures, books and comic books, and in the back a whole section devoted to posters with a price guide, which I think are actually on the low end. I've seen a lot of these go for a lot more than this. Next we'll take a look at the Indiana Jones books. Alright, now I'll give you guys a closer look at some of my favorite and most vintage Indiana Jones books. To transition over from Star Wars to Indiana Jones is this From Star Wars to Indiana Jones, the Best of the Lucasfilm Archives book. This is the hardcover first edition of that. Really great book that starts with the Star Wars trilogy and moves into the Indiana Jones trilogy and gives you a great look at what's in the Lucasfilm archives. Models, miniatures, all kinds of cool stuff. So Raiders of the Lost Ark, here is the illustrated screenplay, which is, just as it says, the screenplay with the storyboards and pre-production art that corresponds to each scene. The Raiders of the Lost Ark storybook, just like the Star Wars ones. In the Raiders Collector's Album, another nice early making of magazine. This is the official film poster magazine. It opens up into a poster Here's the Raiders Marvel comic adaptation, the first of 3 parts. And here it all is in one volume. Here's the Raiders hardcover book club edition. Then some of the various printings of Raiders in paperback. Gold foil, blue, white, and purple. I believe there's even more printings than just that. And a neat making of Raiders of the Lost Ark book with pictures inside. You recall that picture from the press kit. There it is in this book. So transitioning to Temple of Doom, here's its illustrated screenplay. So obviously with Lucasfilm there was a bit of a, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So with every movie they would reliably release these same books. Here's the Temple of Doom storybook with an envelope from Raiders in it. It's a little light reading for kids before bed. And the Temple of Doom Collector's Edition magazine. Again, a nice little making of booklet with interviews. The Temple of Doom puzzle book. And another storybook. Here's the Temple of Doom all-in-one Marvel comic adaptation. And Last Crusade, remember with their press kit, I said they didn't have as much as the others. Here's the storybook for it. As well as a junior novelization. And like I said, really love this complete making of Indiana Jones book. And this is the one that was available in the States, the paperback, and I believe in the UK they got a hardcover edition. And that rounds out the books that I wanted to give you a closer look at. Thank you for watching.